when I had my own life and history and personality juxtaposed to something very different than I was familiar with, I learned a lot about myself. Always keep learning is kind of what I do, and ask better questions.
Swinton, I am so happy that you came this Christmas morning to do this podcast. I've known you for, let me think, it's been over 15 years easily.
At least, 1995, and
That's
we
right.
met relatively soon after I got here.
We sure did. And so that means you've been here how many years now?
Yeah, it's over 25 years.
25 years. Do you see yourself leaving Japan?
I really like it here. I think it's, I like big cities, and Tokyo is among the best cities, so why would I go anywhere else?
A man of my sentiments, because that's how I feel about it. I say, why leave paradise once you find it? Where were you born?
I was born in New York on Long Island.
Okay.
My parents had just moved from South Carolina to Long Island about 3 months before I was born.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you stayed there for the duration?
And we lived in the same house until I graduated high school, and I went to California to college, and they retired and moved back to South Carolina.
Okay, how many siblings do you have?
I have 2 older sisters,
Okay.
And they actually live in South Carolina currently,
Right.
and I have a younger brother, and he lives in Minneapolis.
Minneapolis, okay. How many years between the oldest and the youngest?
Well, my sister
Just how many years are there?
8. There are 2 of them. The oldest one is 8 years older than me, and then the next one comes 2 years after that, and then there's a 6-year break, and then there's my brother and I,
Wow.
and we are 3 years apart.
And same mother and father?
Yes, yes.
So what was it like when you were growing up? What was it like for you?
We lived in a very, very stable, kind of a small community. We lived in the suburbs, where every small community is right next to each other, but everyone knows each other. We lived on a dead-end street, and so it was very safe to play around, and maybe our parents were among the stricter parents because when it got dark at night, everyone had to come and play in front of our house.
Okay.
Because we weren't allowed to go down the street.
All right.
And my mother was known, she didn't have to call, and my brother is Jeffrey, she didn't have to call Jeff and I to come in. She'd just stand at the door, and everyone would relay the message down that it was time for us to come home.
All right, so let me see, so when you were growing up in that area, was the area pretty mixed?
We lived in a community called Lakeview,
Mm-hmm.
and it was predominantly black.
Okay.
I would almost say exclusively black.
Right, okay.
All the communities around us were predominantly or exclusively white. But we all went to school together, so the school district, and this was in the 60s and 70s, so it wasn't all smooth, but the school district in my graduating class from high school was 50% white, 50% black.
Okay. And your father was a principal?
My father, in South Carolina,
Okay.
was in education. He was a principal.
Mm-hmm.
When he came to New York, he changed and worked for Transworld Airline
Okay.
when he was in New York.
Right. Did your mother work as well?
My mother worked as well. My mother was an elementary school teacher.
Okay. All right. So then when you were going through school, did you have sports that you liked, or were you really academic? I'm assuming that because you're going to tell everyone, I'll tell them right now, that you're assistant dean at Temple University.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Because I've known you from when you first came here. And is this something that you really aspired towards, or did it just happen, just kind of happen?
I think even as a younger person, I thought that I would make it into academia or university life. I didn't think it would happen as soon as it did. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people in my family work in education on elementary, secondary, and collegiate level. And so, yeah, I see it as an important thing to do, and I thought that I would eventually make it to universities.
So back to schooling, what were you interested in when you were young?
I was going to be a doctor.
So you didn't. So you really were really academically inclined.
I enjoyed school, and I was able to do well in it, and I was going to be a doctor, and I think at my high school graduation, I had given one of the talks at the graduation, and a woman, I guess the mother of one of my friends, congratulated me, and she asked me what I was going to do after college. I said, I'm going to be a doctor, and she said, oh, that's such a shame. I think what she was saying is that I could speak well and I could communicate well, and maybe that I should go into a direction that would require that.
You were in high school.
I was in high school. And so I have to admit, at that moment I said, oh yeah, I don't want to be a doctor.
What made you decide? What made you want to become a doctor in the first place?
My father wanted me to be a doctor.
Oh, he's the one that wanted you to become a doctor?
Probably.
Okay. All right. Did he have aspirations of becoming a doctor before?
I don't know. I'm a doctor. He would have been, happy if I said lawyer or whatever.
But one of the professions.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
He wanted you to be in a profession that was pretty sure and pretty stable.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Let me ask you, so did you have any sports interest? Were you involved in sports at all?
I did not do team sports so well. I probably shouldn't admit that. But my father taught me to play tennis when I was a kid, and I was a swimmer. I was a lifeguard.
Okay. All right. So you like the individual sports where it was up to you if you got hurt or not.
Yes.
See, that's what I was like. I didn't like team sports, but for a different reason, because I was younger than everyone, and they were a lot stronger than me.
Gotcha.
So when I found out about gymnastics, my life changed completely, because they were afraid to do the stuff I was doing.
Right.
And it put me on a whole different level. So you decided that you wanted to speak, because that was something that impressed me about you, and I think I told you too. We were at this club, and we were at an ACCJ event. Mm-hmm. You were so articulate in the way that you spoke, that you knew how to use the tonation too. You went up when you needed to, you came down when you needed to. You just had everybody at your fingertips. And I came up afterwards, I don't know if you remember this, and complimented you. I said, man, you are really good. You are phenomenal when it comes to speaking.
Thank you very much. That's very kind.
You're really, really good. So when the woman came up to you and told you that, oh, such a shame, and you said, she's got a point there. What did you start to focus on after that?
So I didn't know what I was going to focus on. Mm-hmm. I had applied to school to be a pre-med, and my advisor was a doctor, and so I'm a freshman and I'm trying to figure out what to do. And things international began to interest me, and so I ended up studying international relations with the thought of becoming a diplomat. I did an internship, and this is actually one of the lessons that I carry on now at Temple University, because that internship was also pivotal in helping me understand what I didn't want to do.
So you encourage everyone, do an internship before you really commit yourself to something.
Absolutely.
That made a big difference.
So do multiple internships. Yes.
How long does an internship usually last in your field, diplomatic field?
In all fields, I would say that you should have an internship that's at least 2 or 3 months, whether it's full-time or part-time. Right. That gives the organization a chance to know you, and for you to understand what it's like to work in that field, in that company.
Wait, how long was your internship?
I was a summer intern for my first internship was after my freshman year at the office of Congressman Walter Fauntleroy of the District of Columbia.
Okay.
And then my second internship was right after my senior year. Actually, I had already graduated college at the State Department.
So you were still interested after your first internship?
Yes.
You said, okay, you liked the guy you worked with there, nice guy, it went smooth. What did you not like, or what made you think, not dislike, but what made you think, it's not for me after you did the second internship? Or did it happen then?
I think I understood that I wanted to work in smaller organizations. First of all, prefer to work in the private sector, and secondly, to have the capacity to work in big organizations sometimes and small organizations other times.
Mm-hmm. So then where did you go after you left there?
I had graduated college in California, and I was living in New York.
What college did you go to in California?
I went to Stanford in California as an undergrad. Yes. I was in New York, and I was really trying to find some direction. And I did a number of things. I worked in a recruiting firm. I started a recruiting firm. I worked in telecommunications, and but I was living in New York, and I was going to theater and opera and the dance community, and also organizing for my friends to come with me, because I found out if I got 20 people to come with me, I could get 2 free tickets for myself.
To go to what?
To go to a Broadway show.
Broadway show, okay.
Yes.
So,
and then I thought, well, I wonder if I can do this professionally. So I went to Lincoln Center, where they had a library, and I was going to do some research on what kind of jobs I could get in the performing arts, not on stage, but in marketing. And I stopped by the box office where a childhood friend, someone from my community, was working, and told him what I was getting ready to research, and he said, "Oh, the person who does that here just resigned."
how old were you at this time?
24.
Okay.
I love New York.
Okay.
As I said before, I'm a big city
Manhattan.
person. Manhattan. I live in
Now
Manhattan.
tell me about it. Oh man, I love it. If I had to live in the United States, that's the place I would live if I had to go by.
Yeah, it's great, especially when you're young.
So go on. So you bounce around, then you come to your friend. He tells you that position's open.
Yes, and a week or two later, they had made me an offer, and I was the, I guess, assistant marketing director at the Lincoln Center Theater. So Lincoln Center has constituents, the opera, the ballet, and there's a Broadway theater within Lincoln Center. And we were responsible for about 1,000-seat Broadway theater and for the 300-seat Mitzi Newhouse Theater. And we did some really interesting plays, my favorite of which was the South African musical Sarafina. We brought that to the United States, and it was eventually made into a movie. Lincoln Center Theater in the late 80s, early 90s, was the place to be. We did plays with Madonna and Steve Martin and Robin Williams, and it was really exciting to have that as the product that I'm marketing. Mm-hmm. So it was a great opportunity for me. But then it came to another one of those. I was at a theater conference, and I was talking to this woman. And I said what I was doing, and she said, "Oh, you should move beyond that." So I'm at Lincoln Center, I'm in a great theater. She said, "Oh, you should move beyond that." And I thought, "Oh, you're right." And I didn't know what it meant at first, but when I left Lincoln Center, I went to work in television. So at Lincoln Center, I had an audience of 1,000 people per night. And when I went to work for a public broadcasting system, PBS, we had hundreds of thousands of people watching our show.
Doing what? What was your job?
There was a documentary series called POV, Point of View, mm-hmm. and it was an acquisition series, so we did an open call and got 500 submissions per year, and we picked independently produced documentary films and put them on air.
Okay, what was your position? What did you do?
I was the national publicity director. So okay. I worked with the local television stations and the newspapers around the U.S. To advertise and promote our documentaries.
Okay, so now you're doing the broadcasting.
Yes.
And you get into a bigger arena. How did that turn out for you?
Very well, very well. I liked it a lot. I grew up in New York, and I went to school in California, but I didn't know much about the rest of the country. And so this forced me to visit places and also to talk to the newspaper people there, talk to the public television local people there, and I learned a lot about different ways of approaching things, different ways of seeing things.
So how long did you do that job?
I did that show for 3 seasons.
3 seasons.
Yes.
Then after that, where'd you go?
So after that, I said, okay, this is interesting, but maybe it's a little, I want to try something else.
Without a woman coming up telling you?
This time I did it on my own.
Now, how old are you when you did this?
I'm in my early 30s now.
Okay.
And for the first time was to work in academia. I guess this turn I made because there was a community north of Manhattan. I was a little tired of living in Manhattan. I wanted to live outside Manhattan, and so I started, maybe I could do a job in that community. It's called Rockland County. And I found it because I was bicycling. I was doing a 50-mile bicycle ride. And I said, oh, this is a really quaint community. I like this a lot. I started spending summers up there, and I wanted to spend more time up there. And so I decided to look for a job, and there was an opening doing publicity, which is publicity and marketing, which is what I knew how to do, at the community college there, Rockland County Community College.
How big is Rockland County? I mean, that whole area. Something you say quaint. I mean, I'm trying to picture it in my mind. It's like a suburb?
It's a suburb.
That's what it is, okay.
It's a suburbs. Right. It's a suburb, but there is no public transportation. There's no train. So on the other side of the Hudson River is where most people live because they can jump on the train and get into Manhattan very fast.
Right.
On the Rockland side, you have to drive in.
You got to have a car.
You got to have a car. And
right.
so it was less densely populated,
gotcha.
but okay. A beautiful area.
Okay.
Upper
middle class?
I would say so. Yes.
Okay. Yes.
And but I worked there only 1 year because I then got an opportunity to come to Japan.
So that started your Japan journey.
Yes. I guess before I worked in Rockland, I came here for the summer of '94.
Okay.
And I spent 2 months here in Japan.
Why?
I just wanted to see what it was like, and because I had one thing I didn't mention before, when I was in college, I lived in West Africa, in Freetown, Sierra Leone, and I always thought that I would go live in Africa again. I thought that after I did that play with the South Africans, I thought I was going to move to South Africa.
That was your first time outside the United States, was to go to Africa?
My first time outside the U.S. was to go to Freetown, yes.
Wow. And how long were you there?
A year.
A year. Now how old were you when that happened?
I was a junior in college.
Junior in college. Wow. So you go there and you stayed there for 1 year.
1 year.
But go on, so.
I think it was a great eye-opening experience, but I think what I retained most from it is when I had my own life and history and personality juxtaposed to something very different than I was familiar with, I learned a lot about myself.
Such as?
So I learned that I was different and that was okay. So I think that when I was young, I had this idea that I was different and I didn't think like other people thought, but that I should cover that up.
Okay. All right.
And so to go to a place where people were, had different ideas of interactions, of what foods you eat, of what it means to be a human, what it means to be a man, what it means to be a woman, all these things that I had assumed that everyone in the world thought. Now I go to someplace else and they have just a different way of perceiving things. That was a life-changing, transformative experience, and I think I really recommend that to everyone, whether it's to go to another country or to go to another town or to go to another church, another club, or whatever. Get out of your comfort zone. Mm-hmm. And that has helped me a lot.
That's beautiful. Okay. So then you come back and then you decide. In the 80s, of course, as you know, Japan was the boom.
Yes.
Everybody wanted to come to Japan.
And I had no interest. No interest, was not thinking about it. I had friends who came here. One of my roommate came to Japan, and he was here, I don't know, for 3 or 4 weeks and got a job in a bar, basically speaking English, and paid for his whole trip. And yet that did not interest me at all. Didn't interest me at all.
Big deal. Whoop.
I was like, okay, yeah, no. But yeah, so I didn't have...
But then you ended up getting yourself a ticket to come over here for what? Based on what? What were you coming over here for?
I had a partner. He was back and forth between New York and Japan.
Okay, right.
Japanese.
Okay, Japanese. Okay, all right.
And so I thought, when I got here, I thought, well, this is an interesting... It's a city. So Tokyo works very well. But again, I guess the transformative moment, I was up in Sapporo. So we were traveling around the country. I was up in Sapporo, and I was in a bar called N43. Very, it's on the hills on the hills above Sapporo.
Okay.
And very sleek, very black, dimly lit, and glass on both sides. And as you looked out this side, you could see the lights of the city of Sapporo. And as you looked out this side, you could see a grove of trees lit from the bottom. But because it's glass, you can also see the lights of the city on this side, and you can also see the reflection. And I said, what a beautiful interaction between nature and style, and oh wow, if this is here, maybe I can live in this country. So it wasn't anime or traditional Japanese culture. It wasn't these things. I just felt in that moment, oh, okay, I could live here. And so about a year later, as I mentioned, I went and worked at college for a year. I moved here in September 1st, 1995.
Never look back.
Never look back. I'm not the type of person who looks back.
So there were times when you thought maybe I might want to go back to the States, or
I'm always prepared for anything.
Okay, I understand that.
And so one of the things that I did early on here is I enrolled at Temple University.
Okay.
In an executive MBA program.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought to myself, well, that will give me more network here, more contacts here. But if I decide to go back, I have an American degree.
There you go. Oh, wow. But then you also got involved with the chamber. Are you still involved with the chamber?
Yes.
Right.
So I started working for the chamber. I think when we first met.
That's right. You were
was
one of the
working.
staff there. That's
Yes.
when you're speaking. You're giving us. That's right. Okay.
Yes.
That's the reason why you were speaking. You're informing the members about something because of the chamber or something at that time.
Yes, because I was the membership manager, and it was probably at a membership event that I was the MC for. Yes, that was a great time. But as many staff of the chamber, you get recruited by member companies. And I don't remember if you remember the late Roger Bovair running GOL. I was recruited to work for Global Online.
Okay.
It was one of the first ISP. But he was really an inspiration for me, the way he had put that company together, mm-hmm. and had been a leader for us. And that was a wonderful, many lessons from him.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, so then from there,
GOL was bought at the height of the internet bubble by an American company, mm-hmm. called Exodus. But the bubble burst, and that company went bankrupt. And then the assets were bought by Cable and Wireless, which is a UK firm. So I went from GOL to Exodus to Cable and Wireless in a span of 3 years without my business card changed, but my responsibilities were the same.
Still the same.
And so at Cable and Wireless, they're an international company, and so I had responsibility for our clients throughout Asia. I did mostly securities firm. Merrill Lynch was my main client. And that was a great opportunity because I got to travel throughout Asia to support our clients in Hong Kong and Singapore.
Wow! So you did that for how long?
5 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and in fact, or maybe a little less than 5 years, because before Temple University, where I now work, and I've worked for, I don't know, since 2003, I had never had a job more than 5 years.
Right. Wow, but Temple kept you.
Yes.
Temple's a good place. I mean, and I haven't been to your new campus yet, but I know you've moved from off
Yes,
the
yes, we are in we're in Sangenjaya now.
Sangenjaya, okay.
And it's for many years. In fact, when they first hired me in 2003, they said, you see this picture on the wall here. This is going to be our new campus. So we have been we were really hard trying to get a new space, which would be a better learning environment for the students, a better working environment for the faculty and staff, and we were finally able to accomplish that in 2019.
Did you help with any of that? I mean, marketing or anything? Did you?
That was not. So I'm on the academic side now.
Academic side, okay.
Yes.
But prior to that, had you ever gotten involved with Temple outside of academics? No.
No.
Okay.
I've always been on the academic. So as I mentioned before, I was a student in the Executive MBA program,
Mm-hmm.
and so my first position was running the Executive MBA program, because though I was not teaching in the program, but I knew the program very well, and I guess yes, I was marketing that program.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, just a portion. Okay,
yes,
that's just saying. But you're thinking about. You thought I was thinking about the whole overall
exactly.
thing. Okay.
Exactly.
Well, that's good. That's interesting. So you're doing that now. When did you get your position now as assistant dean?
So actually, that's a recent promotion, by the way.
Okay.
But I've had a number of different responsibilities with the university, always involved with business education. So I've run the Executive MBA program. I ran some partner programs that we had with schools in France. So they would send their students to Japan, and I would be responsible for that. And I am the founding director of the undergraduate business program. Wow. So we did that about 10 years ago.
Okay.
And we have an interdisciplinary program, and it's the largest major of the Temple University Japan campus.
Explain that interdisciplinary program.
So the students don't major in, say, finance or HR. They're responsible for understanding all of the functions of an organization.
They didn't do that before?
Even in our Philadelphia campus, you do the basics, but then you go deeper into HR only. And so you're a human resource management major, or you're a finance major, right? But at the Tokyo campus, we want the students to be integrated thinkers. We want the students to be globally minded, and it's kind of an artifact that you would separate finance from marketing, because you have to be able to know the financial implications of how you're marketing your organization, and we want the students to think in those sort of broader ways, and also to be able to build new business models. So as I think about business education, and I think about what will the students need in the future, I have no idea. So I want to be able to teach them, or to help them learn how to ask better questions. This is the conversation that I have with the students all the time. If you think about TikTok or Facebook, or being able to do vlogs and blogs, these things didn't exist 5 or 10 years ago. So how can I know in advance what's going to exist 5 or 10 years from now? All we can do in the classroom is say, okay, well, here's how organizations runs, and here's some questions we can ask about why Lance is successful here, why the American Club is successful there, and now, okay, what other things can happen in the future? What new business models, what new Facebooks, what new TikToks can we think of for the future? So that's why we want the students to have a grounding in all the business disciplines, so that they can be entrepreneurs or intrapreneurs in their companies.
What's the difference between an entrepreneur and intrapreneur?
Intrapreneur is working for an organization and helps them start new programs.
Gotcha.
An entrepreneur starts their own programs.
Right.
This is the 21st century. Everything that we teach is available on the internet for free. right?
You think they're
And
going to
so-
shut that down by any chance? I keep on thinking about it because it's made colleges, for the most part, redundant. They're not necessary. However, our children aren't being taught what questions to ask. So they still need someone to teach them to do that. That's what colleges and schooling's supposed to do. We learn that, but I'm finding the children don't know what to ask. So how can they find the answer if they don't know what to ask for?
Yeah, and because we have, Google will answer all questions. Siri will answer the questions.
If you know it.
If you have an effective question. And so that's the kind of sort of questioning disposition I want to encourage in our students. But I do find young people, and particularly in this period where we've been all thinking and learning and working remotely, I'm seeing so many more things that say, okay, I'm going to do this on my own. The way that you put this whole vlog together without, I don't know if you went to someone and said, how do I do this? But you asked questions and you figured out how to do this whole thing on your own. And I see a lot of young people beginning to do those things as well. I think that there are a lot of people, who are sort of quietly making careers for themselves, making brands for themselves, doing things, and not working for corporations, not becoming hugely successful entrepreneurs, but taking care of themselves.
So they can do it right. Self-sufficient.
Exactly.
That's
exactly.
right. Then we do have the means to do that now. And I see so many people, you're right, doing that. That's something. What would you like to leave to the audience? What would you like to say to wrap this up?
Well, first of all, thank you for this opportunity.
No. I'm happy you're willing to do it.
I was nervous coming in. I hope I haven't. I hope I have merited your faith in bringing me in.
You have.
And I just really, as I said before, it's important. I think for our students, for myself, to keep learning things, and to keep trying to figure out a new way to view something. And I try to do that myself. I try to, I've been doing research recently on Buddhism and Stoicism and all of these things which I was not familiar with. And there's so many avenues, whether they're blogs or podcasts or reading on the internet, and always keep learning is kind of what I do, and ask better questions.
Fantastic, Swinton. Listen, again, congratulations on your new appointment.
Thank you.
As Assistant Dean. Future successes I know are coming your way. And make 2022 the best you've ever had.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. I want to thank all of you for watching this podcast. Make sure you press like, subscribe, and never forget, it's all unknown. Continue to reach for the stars, and you're too blessed to be stressed.